increasingly shaky. When she called him to inform him that he will be shifted from the Foreign Office and gave him the choice of becoming the Home Secretary after their lingering differences over the issue of the European Union became unbridgeable, he was a little shocked. His wife wanted him to resign outright and challenge the leadership of Mrs. Thatcher in the party by claiming it for himself. Mr. Howe decides instead to write a lengthy resignation letter which he never presented, but leaked it to reach Mrs. Thatcher through her confidants. He did it to bargain for the position of the leader of the Conservative Party in the Parliament. So Sir Howe had a reputation by now in public which Iron Lady could not dismiss like in earlier times. But after she promotes him as the leader of the parliamentary party, this unprecedented resignation letter finds its way to the press and does major damage to both Mr. Howe and the Iron Lady. The former held the latter responsible for the leak. Mrs. Howe was not amused by this move by her husband and went to France on a holiday, where the press described her as a strategist on par with Napoleon. By this time, the general situation in the country was going back to where it all began. There was widespread unemployment and a sulking electorate at the truncated social benefits was hard to please. The inflation was higher than 15% and the growth in GDP below 5%. So the money generated by the privatization drive has been consumed within a decade and the things were back to square again. The differences between Sir Howe and Mrs. Thatcher kept widening on the EU issue. After she humiliated him in a meeting on a minor matter, Mr. Howe quits with an emotional resignation letter, though apparently she wanted to negotiate a deal and retain him in her cabinet as well. His departure resulted in the resignation of the Iron Lady also within a few weeks. So thus arguably, Mr. Howe made sure the end of her career as well with his, and consequently the Conservative Party won one more election but could not complete its term and afterwards remained out of power for more than a decade. Besides, nearly 2 decades later, like many other European and American ones, in Britain too, the privatized banks and other financial organizations failed spectacularly and the government had to pump in £1.5 trillion of the public money to save them from sinking altogether. So this is how politics lurches forward even in a country like Britain. Never mind the incredulous ordinary people who feel ever at a loss, or the loudmouth rhetorical politician who do strange things like having multiple children at a late age or marrying again at a retirement age in order to give the impression that they mean to effect the change. It gets uglier when they flirt with the idea of starting a war elsewhere to look away from the problems at home. The book is written in a lucid language and can serve as a lesson for aspiring writers if one manages to not take its content very seriously, though it lasts nearly 800 pages. Or it could be a defense only against the boredom a long COVID-19 lockdown induces. For you get going through the book not much inspired, even less inspired when you finish it, to actually think what you think of it and put the same in words, dulled by the sultry summer days and the inertia of the lockdown and the lengthy details of the book. The limited and depressing world of Cold War years seems to linger on. Till this day, the corruption in the affairs of the state persists, and in an age of information, the politicians do networking to steal public money to give it to the people they favor. They are working for a common cause like a mafia, very ardently and in great solidarity. This autobiography of Sir Howe also betrays that world and how its actors operate. They are more global than most people in this respect, though conversely, the information age has brought their sordid business in public space like never before. So despite being so well organized and so well resourced, this kind of enterprise may not go unchallenged always. That's it.